So obviously, thank you for tuning in. This is an opportunity for Mark to explain to you how to use the online check portal. So our next online check is on the 16th of January. So it's important between now and then that you look at the evidence you already have in your portal, look at the quality of the evidence, look at the feedback from your tutor, and you make that evidence the best it can be. As you've all been told, each evidence bundle can only have a maximum of 10 pieces of evidence. Now, some people have said, well, what happens if I want to use one piece of evidence twice? That's fine. You might use one piece of evidence in Standard 1 and Standard 7. That still means you are using, it stands still that there's still 10 pieces of evidence in each bundle. And you can use one piece of evidence twice. That's not a problem at all. So there's been lots of questions on the previous session, and so it might be useful for you even to watch that one back as well, just to see if there's any questions that we miss in this one. They're only quite short, these training sessions. So all trainees will be expected to load their evidence into their evidence folders within the portal. And then Mark will talk you through what to do next after your evidence is ready to be checked.
Okay, let's start then. I'm going to just change the screen that we're looking at and share a different screen with you. All right, so this is what it looks like for a fictional trainee that we've set up. He's called Adam Smith. Doesn't really exist, of course, at least not in this world. And this is what Adam's drive looks like. So you may have all kinds of other folders that you've created in order to put your stuff in. But somewhere you're going to have this folder called Evidence. And inside there's an Evidence for Submission folder. And if yours doesn't look quite like that right this instant, don't worry. This evening I'm just going to tidy them all up so they look the same way. And you'll see here that there's a space for standards 1 through 8.
Mark, your screen isn't sharing on YouTube, just so you're aware. Oh no, it is now. It's a bit of a delay. Sorry, carry on.
Yeah, there's a lag with YouTube.
Okay, that's fine. Apologies, carry on.
Okay, so standards 1 to 8 are in here, as is the part 2 standard as well. And essentially inside here, you're just going to gather together the evidence that Charlotte was talking about. I've got a collection of nonsense in here, some images, some documents and all sorts. I just threw some stuff in there, and I don't think I'd do very well if this was my evidence. But yours will be, of course, the stuff that you've been working on, your best work, and the numbers of documents you put in there. Well, Charlotte will give you more details on that a little later. So you put something in each of the standards where you're going to make a claim that you've reached a certain level of proficiency. So I'm going to make a claim for standards 1 and 2, and I've put material in there that you don't need stuff in every one of these, only the ones where you're going to be making some kind of claim. Once you've done that and you're happy that you've got your best work and it's checked and double checked and you're happy for your tutor to see it, you then need to go across to the portal. And once you're signed in, of course, and you will be if you've been looking at Drive, you come across to the trainee portal and go to the trainee assessment form, which you'll see at the bottom of your list. And here you see this online self-assessment form. Now it's been broken down into single questions. So instead of one long form containing lots of questions, you've got a series of different tiles, if you like, or cards, each of which has one question, and sometimes quite a lot of preamble before the question. So there's a bit more clicking through the different parts of the form, but it should be simpler when you look at each page to understand what's going on. You start by saying that which online check this is. You'll notice that there's a red asterisk to the right of assessment period. Wherever you see a red asterisk, it means it's an obligatory, mandatory question. It's a required question. You must put something in there. And if you try and proceed at this point, it will give you an error message and say, no, I need that information. So Adam Smith is going to submit evidence for online check 2. And after you've supplied each piece of information, just click on Next. And you'll see here that this is something that crops up after you've made each choice. It'll say, well, which standard is this for? So we're going to start by saying standard 1, because Adam, if you remember, put some evidence in standard 1 and standard 2. So let's start with standard 1. then click on Next. And now you'll see that the grade descriptors for Standard 1 are there explicitly. I mean, they take up a lot of room, but we think it's worth it just to remind you what the various criteria are. And when you're happy that you've decided which level you think you're at, you make your assessment from 1, outstanding, right down to 4, not meeting the minimum. I don't imagine that many of you will be doing that. So if Adam thinks that he's good, he might say 2 and click Next. And after that, as you might expect, further up the screen, he's got to now choose which is the next standard he's completing. Well, we were going to do Standard 2, Next, and once again, come down to the bottom of the page and make a judgment on where you think you are. When you do that, your information is actually gathered in a spreadsheet, which we have back at Base, and an email is automatically generated, which will be sent to your tutor saying that Adam has just made an online submission, and he's submitted for Standards 1 and 2, and these are the grades he thinks he's at. The email will contain links, so your tutor can get through to the folder directly that contains the relevant information, and they don't have to go rooting around inside Drive trying to find things. So when you've completed, one last thing to do is to say, well, choose here, go right down to the bottom and say completed, and then you'll be taken to the submit part of the form. It's important you do that, otherwise the form's not being handed in. Okay, and that's the thing that will trigger the email to be sent to your tutor. The tutor will also be able to see, as will you in a nearby date, you'll be able to get to a kind of graphical representation of what you've filled in and when and where you think you are, so that you can see your progress, and gradually everything will move towards outstanding and turn the right shade of green. That means you're making the progress that you're looking for. So that is all you have to do from your side. Gather the information into the relevant folders in Drive, and then submit the form, deciding on which standards you're filling in, and then putting in the appropriate level that you think you've reached. There'll be something very similar for tutors to do when they're ready to give their judgments. They'll be able to go into your Drive folders and make comments on individual documents if they want to, or change the names of the documents so you can see which ones they've looked at. And then when they're happy that they've got a view of your overall performance in each standard, they'll go to the form and put in their own judgment, which again you'll be able to see on your personalized map of progress. And I think that's me done, Charlotte.
Yeah, that's fine. Thank you, Mark. Just as a reminder, obviously, the last online check, you submitted 20 pieces of work, and obviously you had excellent feedback from your tutors regarding that work. Those 20 pieces you should have adapted, if that was the feedback from your tutor, adapted and improved, and kind of left in the portal ideally. Some of you have decided to take the evidence out of the portal, and that's your choice. But many of you have decided to leave the majority of those 20 pieces in the portal and just improve them based on the feedback that you received. Therefore, for the next online check, you'll be able to add an extra 20 pieces of evidence. And so expect each of your evidence bundles to be full, because you've got 20 pieces from the first check, you've got 20 pieces from the next check. That doesn't equate to all the bundles being full. But what I would like to maybe see is you focusing on key standards. It would be a good idea for maybe you to focus on Standard 1 and 7, and maybe finish those off if you feel that you can, or maybe strengthen those standards. But it's completely up to you. Many trainees will focus on Standard 8 and Part 2 in the summer term, because you'll have more evidence more witness statements and things like that gathered by the summer term, and often those two standards are left till the end of the year. But one of the most important things at this stage in your training is making sure your action plans are completed and that they're also shared with tutors at your online check. Those action plans are so pivotal now in you having an awareness of this is the criteria, this is what good looks like, how can I get to good, this is the evidence I need to collect, and I need to put it in those folders. And so I don't want trainees now to be feeling that they have lots and lots of work to do and they're being pulled in lots of different directions. If you are organised and if you've done your action plan, you can be very focused and you can make sure that anything that you do, if you need to write a reflective journal, and you look through your action plan and see, right, I need to write a reflective journal for standard 3, so I'm going to do that tonight and I'm going to be focused. So make sure that those action plans are completed, and they need to be uploaded outside of the online check, outside of the standards boxes. If you could upload your action plan into the portal, that would be really useful. I will reiterate this as some kind of good guidance document before the online check deadline, so don't worry about that. But these videos and the showing of the process of how to self-assess against the standards is really useful. Right, we've got a question here from Rebecca. The use of videos. Now, the use of videos with you teaching, this portal, as you know, is a secure environment. It's all locked down. Therefore, if I were you, I would ask permission from your school before you upload that video in the first instance. But as far as we're concerned, that video will not be shared with anybody outside of East of England. And this is a secure lockdown environment. So in a safeguarding perspective, that video should be okay, but you need to get permission from your schools in the first instance. A specific title we need to call our uploaded files. This is something we discussed in the last discussion that we had, is that some trainees are saying, well, if I'm leaving my evidence from online check 1 in my portal, how will my tutor know that it's my online check 1 evidence? And so my advice to you is, if everybody could go through and just put an OC1 at the start of any evidence that's left in their folder that's already been checked, and therefore tutors won't look at that. So if you're leaving things in your folders that have already been checked, just put an OC1, just rename the file OC1 and then keep the name of the file the same. Then it will be obvious to tutors where the new evidence is. Also, with the new uploads that are happening, your tutors will be sent links to specific folders where that evidence is. Has anyone else got any other questions?
I think just in general on the naming topic, there is no longer any need to be tight-fisted about the length of your titles for documents. And we're all drowning in documents, so it's a good idea to use meaningful descriptive titles for things rather than trying to make them very, very short. Maybe on a phone now you can get quite long names for documents. And as I said in the preamble, it's quite likely that your tutors, when they've looked at something, will be encouraged to put some kind of mark on it to show that they have done that. So the name may shift from OC1 to XOC1 or something like that, that shows that they've looked at it as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know I spoke to a trainee the other day about, and they were saying that they've got a video to upload, and they were asking about, can they, as one piece of evidence, upload the video with a reflection as to why they'd uploaded that video. And I said yes, that would be uploaded as the video would be part A of the upload and the reflection would be part B of the upload, and that would make one piece of evidence, because it's essential that you have the reflection on why have you uploaded that video and how do you feel it exemplifies the standards. So when it comes to uploading videos of you teaching, it's a great idea, but you will need to upload the video as A and a reflection as B as to why you've uploaded it. So in that instance, it's like a double upload, but it is counted as one piece of evidence.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Any other questions?
Slight lag with my switches.
Okay, I suspect we're all done then. Yeah, that's lovely.
Thank you, everybody. I appreciate you taking the time. This this film clip will be available via this link soon, won't it, Mark?
Yep, I'm just going to trim out a little bit of preamble, and it'll be there this evening. We may well embed it on the portal as well, so you'll be able to get it on YouTube, in the portal, and in your drive as well. So whichever.
Yeah, I've just seen a question from George has just popped up. Is there a limit to how many pieces of work you can put in as one piece of evidence? Now, you've got to be careful not to be cheeky about this with your tutors, that a lesson plan and the associated resources for that lesson, I would count as one piece of evidence, okay? But I don't want as one piece of evidence your lesson planning, your reflective journal, the lesson observation, and your weekly meeting all as one piece of evidence, because that isn't fair. But I will accept your lesson plan and the associated lesson resources, things like worksheets, photographs of the lesson, and that can all be tied into your reflection that's at the bottom of the lesson plan, and I would accept that as one piece of evidence. But please don't be cheeky and try and shoehorn lots of different things into one upload, because those tutors will only be checking those 20 pieces of evidence, and they've only got a certain amount of time to be able to do that.
And quality is more important than quantity.
Absolutely, absolutely. That you're uploading work because you feel it exemplifies those standards and it shows you being a good or an outstanding teacher.
Great. Well, if there are no further questions, then thanks very much for attending. It's nice and short, and you can get off and enjoy the rest of your evening now. And I'll trim this and put it up in the places I mentioned, so you'll be able to get at it from tomorrow morning.
Thank you, Mark. Appreciate that.
All right.
Take care.
Thanks again. Bye-bye now.
Bye.